everybody, it's me, Ashley Brooke. The topic that I'm going to talk about right now is how to have difficult conversations with your nonverbal child. The reason why I wanted to do this topic is because, it's the world is changing so intensely, and unfortunately, we're all, people are losing family value. And I grew up seeing a lot of dysfunction, and it was very hard to process as a child. In general, the autism probably made it a lot more confusing. So I have this incident that happened recently. I've always been able to talk to my child, like, for example, my son is, he's a blessing. My guy, like, enduring poverty, and him went from having, whatever he wanted in the store, or any toy, when we walk in places, to having no money. He responded very well. He went to grab a toy when we first started going through this, and I felt so bad because I couldn't buy it for him. And I told him, mommy doesn't have money right now. When I get money, I'll buy it for you, okay? I told him, mommy would buy you anything if I have the money. And he looked at me and smiled and put it down. So conversations with my son about those type of things just sort of came naturally, and he took it very well, like, naturally. And I think that's because of the tight bond that we have. But recently I faced a new situation that was hard. When he was younger and his dad left, and then his dad would show up for visitation, when he was supposed to. I explained it to him that that his dad wasn't there. In the beginning I was like, I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I told him, your dad's just busy working, so he can come see you. I used to tell him that. But years went by, and it's like, I remembered being a child, and when somebody would lie to me to cushion my feelings, it just made me feel more unsafe. So now that my son's 10, I can't, I feel that it's frustrating, especially if you're nonverbal, for people not to tell you exactly what's going on, because everything's already so confusing, and it's hard to, like, for them to express themselves. So any chance that they may, it's like, how dare you waste my moment of me trying to express myself, and we're not even in reality. Like, that's very, I think it's just not fair to the person involved, even if it is a child. So an incident happened recently where Ozzy's father came to visit him. His dad was being very, like, mean, and my son, like, being rude to me, and my son kept looking at me, because my son and I are very, like, my son is so cute, he's, like, smitten by me, he loves me, and I love him. But when his dad did that, my son looked at me, and it made him feel, like, confused and how to respond to his dad. And I didn't want to use my son as a tool to be like, yeah, my son doesn't like you. That would be really bad parenting. So it was hard for me. I wanted to, like, I disliked the way that his father acted. I still kept calm because I didn't want my son, because kids are, children in general are very smart. People don't realize that. They're very aware, they observe everything because they're like sponges when they're young. And my son You know, autistic children, especially who are nonverbal, I know this because I was nonverbal, we pay attention extra close. We hear and see everything. So when his dad acted like that, I didn't respond at all. I just looked at Ozzy and I just smiled and hugged him. And later, when we sat down and talked to him, because we went, well, what was that incident that happened though? So his dad was being a little, you know, difficult, and but Ozzy's nonverbal and he's not familiar with his father. So when he went with the visitation with the social worker, we went to the park, and Ozzy wanted to get on the swing, and Ozzy's a big boy. I don't know if you guys see my videos, but I'm very small and short, and you know, not that big. And so my big boy is kind of hard for me to pick him up, and you know, can't pick him up anymore. So he wanted to get on the swing, and I went to try to help him, and I needed help a long time ago. The person that would help me to get Ozzy on the swing as he was getting older was my daughter's father. So I'm used to going to parks or public places. I either had a caretaker or is his dad in the past. It was just niece, and then his dad was there, and I asked his dad, I said, "Come on, Dad." I told him, because that's just how I talk when I'm around Ozzy. I like to keep it, you know, so Ozzy knows the roles of people, and just to keep it happy, you know. I said, "Come on, Dad, Ozzy needs help getting on the swing." His dad looked at, and Ozzy looks at his dad with a big smile, like thinking he's gonna have that moment, and his dad's like, "No." I was like, I said, "What?" I said, "Come on, your son needs help getting on the swing." And I'm still trying to keep it happy, you know, because like I don't want Ozzy to pick up on I was hoping that his dad would be like, shake off his whatever resentment for me and help, you know, help his son and remember why he's there. It didn't go that way. His dad said, "It seems like you got it from there." I was like, he's saying that to me as I'm like on the floor in the little like wood shavings of my knees and trying to pick my big boy up. I was like, "Really? You're not gonna help Ozzy?" And we're there with a social worker watching, mind you, so I'm just like, I'm baffled. And he didn't help at all. Right then, I had to shut down the visit because no one's gonna stand there and, you know, emotionally abuse my son. When his dad said no, Ozzy just went from like super smiley, gazing into his eyes, thinking he was gonna get that father-son moment, you know, to like completely like depressed and sad and confused. Oh my God, that broke my heart. It was very difficult. I told the social worker, "We're gonna have to cut this visit short. He is being emotionally abusive to my son." And so we cut the visit short. We got back to where we stayed, and the whole day my son was just extremely depressed. I've never seen my son like that before. I took him up to the other playground where I'm at, and he was just sitting on the slide, and he was just like zoned out, like. And I was like, "Come on, Ozzy, like we can play here." I brought popsicles and tried to, you know, get music and bubbles and a little splash table, and he was just sitting there like, where he's usually very happy. I've never seen my son like zoning out depressed. It was so hard. It was so hard to see my baby like that. And I couldn't have ignored it and just tried to keep making him happy. But sometimes autistic children need a little help, you know, like prompting him to feel better and to understand his situation and so that he doesn't think that it's his fault. See, I grew up and my family didn't know how to respond to me, and they didn't talk to me too much, you know, about things to make sure that I was aware that, you know, to reassure me that I was loved. So it affected me most of my, well, actually all of my childhood, and even up into my, early adulthood. So I didn't want that to happen to my son. So later I sat him down and I told him, I know that this didn't go too good. I said, maybe your dad's back hurt. Maybe he wasn't, I said, I always joke with him when I said, maybe he doesn't have muscles like mommy. And my son kind of like gave me a smirk, and I was like, I said, what did I tell him? I told him, I said, maybe next time. I said, he just doesn't understand, Ozzy. I said, he's not well, but I think he's taking classes, and I think he's, and I told him, I think he's gonna get better. Sometimes people take a little bit of time. And I said, maybe he was sad. That's why people, sometimes, I tell them the truth. I tell them, sometimes people are mean or make people feel sad because they're sad. I said, we can pray for him. I said, I'm pretty sure Jesus will help him. And he looked at me and I said, I love you, Ozzy. And then he smiled at me. And then the next day I took him back to the park, and then I got down that swing thing. I have a technique too, if you guys want to know how to pick up a big child and put him on a swing by yourself, if you're a little shrimp like me. I pretty much just put his body like towards the swing, put it into the swing, and put my arms around, but I put it up under the seat, and then I tell him to step on my knees. I kneel down and have him step on my knees, and then he gives himself with leverage. He pushes up on my knees, on my knees, my Lily, you're here. And he pushes up, and when he pushes up, I scoop in, and then he can grab and get on. So that's a little tip. You might want to try it. Yeah, because it was devastating for me because my son, he's so innocent, and he really loves to swing. It's like, I want my boy to be able to play on the swing. So it's best for you guys to, if you can get anything from what I just said, it's very important to talk things through with your nonverbal child, but also don't bash the father or the person that they experienced it with. And don't ignore it. You don't want to talk it out with them. You don't want to leave an autistic child that's nonverbal sitting there in their thoughts of like, was that me? Was it because of me? You want to help them process, and be realistic. Like, it is very true that Ozzy's dad is not well mentally. It's, and it's very true that God can do anything, and it's very true that all we can do is pray for people like that. So, that was, that I feel that was the best way, and just a lot of love, a lot of love, and the attention, and just be there, as support, and talk about it. If you see them sad, it's good to talk about it. They need to understand, sometimes they'll feel sad. Like for example, I always tell not tell myself, but I always tell, even when people ask me, like, they're always like, do you have anxiety? Do you have depression? And I'm like, I don't process that way. And I feel like we really don't. Like, I don't think I know what depression is. Like, I never experienced depression. I've had a very, very hard life, but my brain isn't processed like that. So I feel, well, I know that a lot of people go through depression, but I don't know, somehow what I went through growing up, and combined with my autism, I think, just made me this way. So I think it's very good to talk with a child through it because they may be experiencing depression or anxiety and they're not aware that that is what it is. So it's always good just to talk it through and keep it very positive. I can't express this enough. If you have children, you should be doing this anyways. But if you have an autistic child, it's time to grow up. It shouldn't be all rowdy and talking and cussing and bashing people in front of them because it can be very confusing and very hard to deal with when they already have their own challenges, and then they may think, oh, all these people are acting this way because of me, you know. And don't forget the number one cause of suicide is autistic teenagers. So please, everybody, let's see. Yeah, try to always talk to your child, even if they're nonverbal. You know, I don't want to say especially if they're nonverbal. Talk to your child always. Just don't stop because if they are nonverbal, it's very important. And always, when you're talking, make sure you're looking them in the eyes when it's a serious conversation, and keep a positive smile, on your face, reassuring that you love them. That is very, very helpful. And I'm just sharing with when I approach that situation, and then I, in my head, quickly try to figure out how to respond the right way to be the best support for my son. I had to really go and dig deep from everything I experienced and what made me feel bad. And I remember being a child, and my dad was an addict, and he was a minister at first, so I've seen this world turning good people into poop, So my dad was in the streets on drugs and stuff like that, and I remember being at my grandma's house because we didn't have any food, and we're eating at my grandma's house at the table with my auntie and my mom, and my grandmother and my aunt, of course, very very upset with my father for putting us through that. And my aunties, they're talking and bashing my dad at the table, right? And I'm sitting there, and then my mom said, like, not to say it in front of me, and I heard that, and I didn't, and this time I didn't talk yet either, so they probably assumed I wasn't understanding. And then and my auntie said, oh, she knows her dad's a piece of shit, right? I think she's still like, no one treats my little niece like this. And I think it was that whole Latin female, like, empowerment, like, type of, like, what she was going for. And I don't think she intended it to hurt my feelings at all. I think she did genuinely care, and she was upset with my father, for what he put my mom and me through. So I don't want to go into it about my aunt. My aunt was great. She was always here when we were children. I remember being at the table and I started crying, and I ran away from the table, and I remember feeling like embarrassed, and because my dad was my dad, even though they were trying to defend me, it's still like my dad was a part of me, and so it was kind of like you're bashing part of me too, and it made me just feel bad, like I didn't have a dad that cared, and I remember being a little bit on crying and running away, and they didn't talk to me about it, so I held on to that memory for a very long time. And there was another moment too, just to help you guys understand, with nonverbal children, how much we do understand. I remember being young, and I think I was about maybe eight, maybe 9, and I was really trying to talk, but I was still very quiet, still a few words, and And my dad always be gone, taking off on drug binges, and I never had a birthday really ever, and I remember that I guess like my mom and my auntie and my uncle I guess decided to have like a barbecue for me and make a cake, and I believe that was like maybe the second time I ever remember having a birthday party as a child. And then that same night, my dad shows up like super late. I'm talking like maybe like 1 a.m, and I passed through the hallway, and my mom's cussing my dad out, telling him like she's cussing too, like all intensely, like what the F, what the F, you don't even care about your daughter, some other men had to step in here and make her a party today. And I heard that part, and I was like, I just started bawling. And I think it was because I was sad that was the truth, that my dad wasn't there. He was rather have been on high on drugs. And then it hurt me because then she made me realize that I was like a pity. It was a literal pity party. That people felt bad for me, so they made me the party. So it just felt like weird. Like, should I be happy that they did that for me, or do I just feel like pathetic? I remember being like very like bothered by that night. Oh my god! And it was like at like 1 a.m, so it was like and right after my birthday, so it was so awful. I've never been a big fan of birthdays. So yeah, that's just a little reminder. I'm pretty sure a lot of you parents are like, oh, I know this information already. And it's like, yeah, we all know to be appropriate for the children, but do we practice it, So just a little reminder, be careful what you say, but make sure that you're saying things, especially to your nonverbal child. Keep the communication open, and reassure them with love. Okay, that was a tough topic for me to talk about, you guys, because I went through so much trauma growing up, and like now I have my son, and I just want to protect him from any hurt or any trauma, and it's just like it's a rough life we live in, and people are getting cuckoo, these days. So I can't keep him in a bubble. That wouldn't help him understand how to navigate the world or advocate for himself or find who he is, as an individual. So, but I'm going to do this gradually. I have to ease it in. It's like I'm one of those parents that like doesn't want to let my kid go. I know he's only 10, but like I can just picture when he's like 30, I'm gonna be like, I imagine him like when he's older and he's in his wedding photo, you're gonna see my little head in the back, like, what's it called, like photo bombing? I'm gonna be such a little stalker. It's gonna be funny. Anyways, well, you guys have a great day. Anybody has any experiences that they, had to go through like this, and any information they want to share with me too, because like I don't care if I'm autistic, I don't care if I have any experiences like this. It's a very, very tough topic, and very sensitive topic. So any information we can all put our heads together and just find the best approach for our children, that'd be great. All right, God bless.